Hey guys, Anamortis here. What is this? This is the long time coming, oft-promised video that I said I was going to make a long time ago. Well, it took a lot of research, a lot of effort, and I finally was able to pull it off. So, first things first, let's make sure everyone can see what I'm doing. Zoom in a little bit. We're going to open up, this is a Debian 11 mate live city, and we have opened here a terminal. Sudo su minus just to get in there. We'll do an apt update just to make sure the software is fresh. And we're not going to upgrade anything on the live CD since we're not installing from the live CD. It's just not important. We need to first, though, ZFS is a little bit of an odd duck compared to other file systems. As you may or may not know, ZFS is not integrated into the Linux kernel because it has a conflicting license, and so you have to install the kernel modules separately. For Debian, which goes by a pretty strict open source GPL oriented uh, publishing method, they keep it in their backports repository. Backports for Debian is a way to use Debian stable and also get occasional upgrades from major software. It's what I use on both my desktop and server. Get a new kernel, get a new version of Flatpak, something stuff that can make the system last a lot longer over time. So, first things first, we need to let's go to the wiki and get ourselves the apt sources list. Because what we're going to do, go to vi etc apt sources.list, and we're just going to delete what's in there by default. Now, I am going to go to wiki.debian.org. And we want some examples, and we don't want to type all day, so we'll do apt sources entry on the search, and that'll bring up this sources list, and we're going to pull down these exact ones. I like the main contrib non-free here, so it also has the sources for backports. We'll hit I since we're in VI. Go over here, right-click, copy, Control-Shift-Z, and then we'll paste those in with Control-Shift-Z, and then we'll do the backports lines now. Copy, Control-Shift-Z, hit escape, Shift-ZZ to save, and then we'll do another apt update to make sure those new resources are available to our live environment. Now that we've got that done, we need to install the ZFS utils system. We use a different flag on our apt installations, so we'll do apt install -t, and then bullseye backports ZFS utils -linux and ZFS dkms. This is going to take a minute. It has to build them against the live environment's kernel. So I'm just going to let this run, and we'll give it a sec. And by the way, warning: the licenses are incompatible. But we're not going to do. We're going to do exactly what it says. We're going to build it using dkms. So here we go. Okay, we've got ZFS set up in the live environment. We need to make sure that the service is started, so do system control start ZFS-z.service. No, I'm not pronouncing it any other way. And then mod probe ZFS. All right, now for the stuff that you're probably most familiar with. First, we'll clear. Then we're going to do an lsblk to find our disks. We're going to do some partitioning. Here's our main disk. 120 gigs is the big hint. The other two, loop 0, SR0, are our live environment. Not going to use those, not important. And yeah, so now we're going to go ahead and do first. we're going to go ahead and do an fdisk dev SDA. G to create a GPT label. Now we're going to do 4 partitions. EFI partition, obviously. The second partition will be a boot partition. I'm going to put that under ext4. This is just to give grub a little bit more flexibility, help it handle ZFS. I know you can do ZFS boot partitions. I'm not super interested in that. I just think it can be risky, and ext4 is fine, does a great job, very reliable, and unless you're doing encryption, it should be okay. So, and it'll run great. So what we're going to do is first we're going to make that EFI partition first defaults, then last sector plus 512 megs, T for type, 1 for EFI, new, 2, first sector, last sector. Just make this 1 gig, leave it as a Linux file system, new, 3, first sector, last sector. We're going to do 2 gigs on our, and this is going to be our swap space. We're going to do 2 gigs on it. T for type, default 3, 19 for the swap. And then the last file system just defaults all the way down for Linux file system, and W to write. So those have all been written to our hard drive. That is set. We need to partition these, or we need to give them file systems. So first, make file system. vfat dev sda1, make fs ext4 dev sda2, make swap dev sda3, and then now we need to make our ZFS file system. This is a little different than how we do it in other file systems. We need to use the zpool command, and we need our part UUID number from the blkid command. So that's down here, dev sda4. It pulls this up. We'll just copy that, and we're going to do zpool create -o. I want compression equals lz4. Then we're going to name our zpool. I like zroot. Other people like tank. You can call it just about anything you want. And then I will control V to paste. And now that partition is made. And then we'll do another blkid. And as you can see, SDA4 has changed from this little brief to the much longer label zroot, UUID sub, UUID, all kinds of stuff, ZFS information. So that's set up. Now we need to create subfolders. We'll do ZFS create zroot/root, and then we'll pull that up again with an up key, create root ZFS root, and then we're going to call this Debian. You can call this anything you want. That's our root folder for our installed system. Now we're going to mount our other 2 partitions, our EFI and our boot partition, and we need folders for them. So we'll do /zroot, just hit tab, should fill out, and then we're going to go boot, and then we'll mount. We have to do this next. Mount dev sda2 zroot all the way down to boot. Not deb, typo, dev. Then we need to make our EFI partition and mount it, or make our EFI folder and mount it. So make dir /z tab all the way down EFI, and then we need to mount dev sda1 z tab all the way down boot EFI. Okay, and then we do an lsblk just to double check everything's lined up, everything is good to go. Now that that has been handled, we're going to clear. Don't need this window open anymore. Get a nice shade of blue for the side. And we are going to Debootstrap because we have our Z file system set up. And now we need an operating system. So first, install Debootstrap from apt because the live CD doesn't have it by default. Only takes a moment. And now we're going to run Debootstrap. Tell me if this seems familiar. Bullseye, and then not to mount, we send it to our folder here for zroot. So, and just in case you're wondering, before I do that, I'll show you our root folder on our live CD. It has this zroot folder now. This is our mounted hard drive, and that's why everything tabs out that way. So, anyway, back to what we were doing. Debootstrap bullseye zroot all the way to Debian, and then hit the enter key. We are going to run this. installed, have things debootstrapped. Now we need to put in our apt sources from our live CD. Since we've already done the configuration, it doesn't make sense to start again from scratch. So we'll just copy, C, sources.list, go away, yellow thing, to tab Debian etc apt. Okay, now here's our usual mounting of the pseudo-filesystems and affiliation of hardware to the Chroot environment. I've tried to find something that's shorter than this. I can't. I haven't found anything that's shorter than this that works as well. So usually it breaks if I don't do exactly this. So we'll do for-dir insys dev proc do mount arbine slash $dir slash z $dir mount make our slave slash z tab $dir semicolon done. Then we just copy our resolve.conf to there, and now we're ready to Chroot. And again, so here we are. We are inside our live environment. We have everything in place. We are prepared. Welcome to your ZFS hard system. Now we need to get it into run. To begin, we need to do our apt update, and then I'm going to throw in an apt upgrade because sometimes the Debootstrap doesn't pull in everything new, which is a new problem. But yeah, we'll just hit enter, let that run its course. Shouldn't take more than a moment. Now, and then after this, we need to put in our locales because this is really important to making sure everything installs properly once we get to the also critical installation of our kernel and ZFS. So that begins, we're going to do a dpackage reconfigure locales. Page down, we're going to find our language. I am an American English speaker. Has not changed since my last video, so we'll go EN US UTF-8 space to put a little star by it, tab over to OK, enter, choose that from the list of 3, and then we're going to set our password. Okay, that's in. I'm going to clear. From here, the process takes one of two ways we can go. We can install the stable kernel as provided by Bullseye by default. Comes with the system, works pretty well. I have hardware problems with it, so I run the backported kernel. So then, therefore, you can install the stable kernel or you can install the backported kernel. Each one has a slightly different process. If we're installing the stable kernel, we put the kernel in first, and then ZFS utils. If we're installing the backported kernel, we put the kernel in alongside ZFS utils and then install other stuff like Network Manager after. The question, what we're going to do now is we're going to do the stable kernel. And I'll try to highlight what you need to do to get the backported kernel to work. You can always install the backported kernel again later. I've never personally done it from the Chroot environment, installed the backported kernel. I usually do it after I've already booted up. So no harm in this, but yeah, we're going to do the stable kernel first. And so that is apt install. We'll do the kernel. So Linux image AMD 64. We need our headers this time though, unlike our other Debian videos. Because we're compiling a module for ZFS, Linux headers AMD 64 has to be included or else it's not going to compile. We'll do sudo. We're going to do console setup. Also critical to get ZFS installed. NTP network manager vim, and then the microcode. I have an AMD processor, so AMD 64 microcode, otherwise be Intel microcode. And this will take a little bit because there's a lot to run. So hold on to your seats. I mean, oops, except I typoed. Not that this is a very thrilling process, it's just some packages installing. So I'll be right. Oh, we're going to choose our keyboard. English US. All right. Here we go. With our kernel installed, we've made a lot of progress here. And sometimes if we were running just a normal file system that was integrated, we wouldn't have to do anything else. But because we have ZFS, now we have to install ZFS support. So if you recall from the start, we had to tell it to install from backports. So we are going to go ahead and do that. apt install -t, bullseye, backports, ZFS utils, Linux, ZFS DKMS, and ZFS init ram fs, so grub works. This also will take a bit. Gonna hit enter. Let this go ahead. Yes, we know they're incompatible. We already saw that on the live CD. And it has to build its kernel module or else it's not going to work. Give it time. Now that that has been handled and we are ready to continue configuring the system, it's time to set up our FSTAB. So we'll cp proc mounts pc FSTAB. As usual, we'll get our UUID from blkid. I'll get our vfat first. We'll find SDA1. Highlight copy, vi etc FSTAB. And we got to go through, we're going to delete all these extraneous lines. This is always the same as everything else. Oh, except I just deleted something. So you got to be careful. Okay, let me reiterate. You need to be very careful how you do this because we need the temp fs line. So this one right here, insert temp. I think the system would still work, but you don't want to do that if you can help it. Since we have UUID in our clipboard, we'll just delete the dev line, hit escape. This is, oh, I don't need help. I still don't need help. This is the, because these numbers and letters can get reassigned. So you want to use the UUID, which is permanent. Now we need to just mark our boot partition. Go ahead again, find the UUID, go back to FSTAB, and then just delete. Go to that. Okay. Shift-CZ, that's FSTAB. I'm just doing that for my own benefit. As you can see, because we're in the Chroot environment, everything's in boot, bootfi. Now that we have FSTAB done, let's update our host and hostname. I find it helps and it's faster if you copy this from somewhere. So I'm gonna go Aaron desk ZFS. Obviously that's not a real command, but what we can do then is highlight copy. We go to vi etc host name dd. We're just going to delete this. I to insert, Control Shift Z, bam, and then we need to do that again to etc hosts. We take out all references to localhost. If you're in vi, dw deletes the word. A is append, it takes you back in. Control Shift Z. Get rid of that. Go down to the next line. DW, insert, Control Shift Z, escape to get out of edit. Go here. DW, insert, Control Shift Z, a space, Shift CZ, and that's done. Now we just need to set our time zone. Depackage reconfigure TZ data. I'm on the east coast of the US. have that handled. Okay, let's clear. Now we need to install grub. Grub has a couple of extra steps that we have to take in order to get it to work. We're going to go apt install grub EFI AMD 64. This should be ring familiar to you. Nothing unusual here. Just let that handle it. Only takes a moment. All right, now we just grub install dev SDA. That was our hard drive. Should go through. No errors reported is what you want to see. There it is. No errors reported. Do an update grub for safety because I hate forgetting that. Then we have a bunch of services we have to enable in order to get our system to work. So system control, enable. We'll start out with the networking, network manager, which we installed way back when we installed the kernel. Now we need to set up some ZFS specific stuff. So first we set a zpool cache file. So that's zpool set cache file equals /etc ZFS and then zpool.cache and then zpool. Oh, that was zroot. My mistake. Then we need to enable 3 services and make sure there is a line for it in modules. So system control enable ZFS z.service. I typoed this again. How did I type set instead of z? Then we need to do ZFS mount service. And then ZFS, and actually, this one's a lot different, ZFS.target. Then we need to go echo ZFS double caret to /etc modules that adds ZFS to the end of that file. Now we have to do, this is equally important to updating grub, it's update init ram fs-u. This lines up and makes sure that your kernel can boot ZFS. Then we'll do another update grub because, again, very paranoid about this. Okay, we're almost done. 2 things left. So we'll exit out of Chroot, and we're back in our live environment. We're going to unmount -r, zroot, Debian, and that just takes everything off the LSBLK. As you can see, nothing is synced up. Then we need to set our mount point. ZFS set mount point equals /zroot. This has to be typed out. No first slash here. This is just zroot root Debian. Then we need to do zpool export zroot. Okay, we're configured. Now we reboot. Pleased to say you now have a fully functional Debian ZFS operating file system to do with as you please. From here, there's only a couple things you can really still do. We're going to user add my user, give him a password. Oh, that's the wrong one. Control-C. No. Password. Aaron. Don't want to change my root password yet. Let's see, and then we're going to change shell Aaron to bash. And we'll exit out. Behold, we have the fully functional stable kernel version of ZFS. So, you know, from here you can install GNOME core, get GNOME set up. You can install, I always make sure I got xterm because sometimes things don't go the way you want. Then you would install that. you do a sudo system. After that finishes, you do system control enable now GDM3. I don't have GDM3 at the moment, so it's not going to find it. And then you have a fully functional desktop. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a lot of work to get here and install. Enjoy your ZFS desktop or server or what you end up doing with it. But I consider this a pinnacle achievement on these videos. I don't know if I can best this. But I will certainly try. I'll do other OSs. The reason by the way, haven't done that Arch or Nixos video, Arch was acting weird, but Nixos turned out to be like 3 commands, so I don't feel like you guys need me to do that for you. I'll be doing some more experimentation on other OS, on other Linux distributions, but I think I have the meaty ones done. If you want, I can try to do ZFS on SUSE and Fedora and Ubuntu. I've decided it's best to just use the automatic installer. That OS is just kind of made for it. But, thanks guys for watching. We will have more videos coming in the future. And,